Good day, everybody. I am Dexter A. Cabog,
And I am April J. Kakafranca,
your reporters for today. Our topic is all about analyzing structures. Okay, but first of all, here are our topic. We have analyzing and
Horizontal and vertical axis.
Yes. So what is structural analysis?
Structural analysis focuses on the structural relations which are functional in the signifying system at the moment.
Yes, so that is structural analysis. It means that this focus on the structural relations, which are functions in the signifying systems at the moment. And here is the example of vertical and horizontal axis. So we have the centage is positioning, while the paradigm is the substitution. As you can see to the graph, the man cried. So that is the sigmatic. So that is the positioning. But when we are going to apply the paradigmatic or the paradigm, those are the signifiers. We can make the man died, or at the same time the boy cried, or in other form the man sang. So that is the purpose of the vertical and horizontal axis. Okay, let us now differentiate what is paradigm and centage. Okay, what is paradigm?
Paradigm derived meaning from the medium and genre used differ from alternatives and
Centage?
combination of interacting from signifiers to form a meaningful text.
Yes, because of the centage, we can combine a, a different meaningful text. Like for example, from our past graph, the man cried. At the same time, it will become the man died or the man sang. It depends upon us. Okay, what is paradigmatic?
Paradigmatic is the issue of why a particular signifier rather than a workable alternative used in the context. According to Saussure, he called the characteristics as associative relations.
Yes, it is accordingly to Saussure that the paradigmatic is called also as an associative relations. So what is commutation test? This is a means is used to analyze a signifying system. The test signifies signifiers as well as their signified value and significance. And now, this is the commutation test. What is commutation test?
The communication test may involve any of four basic transformations, some of which involve the modification of the centagem. However, the consideration of an alternative centagem can itself be seen as a paradigmatic substitution.
Yes. So we have now the paradigmatic transformations. Paradigmatic transformations is all about substitution and transposition. While the syntagmatic transformations, it is the addition and deletion. And now, the additional example of commutation test. A commutation test, it is
A way of seeing it if, by changing a sign in the paradigm, you change the meaning of the text.
yes, we can change the meaning of the text. Example. So, try to analyze what we have shown the example on the screen. Very good. I hope you got our guts. And now, what is opposition theory?
Opposition theory was introduced by Saussure, inherit the principle of linguistics and labeled as difference.
From the word opposition, it means difference. It opposes. Example, warm, cold, love, anger. That is the example of opposition theory. And now,
The various conventionally linked terms with which we are familiar within a culture might more appropriately be described as paired contrast, since they are not always direct opposites, although their use often involves polarization. Distinctions can be made between various types of oppositions, perhaps the most important being the following.
Okay. Oppositions can be logical contradictories, mutually exclusive terms. Example, alive, dead. We're not alive can only be dead. Antonyms, it is logical contraries. Terms which are comparatively graded on the same implicit dimension. Example, good, bad. We're not good. So it is not necessarily bad. So from the word antonyms, it differs. It has the same meaning. So now let's proceed now to the markedness. What is markedness?
That is a contrast between two or more members of a category such as number, case, or tense. One of them is called marked if it contains some extra affix as opposed to the unmarked member which does not.
Okay, that's the definition of mark. It has a lot of categories, and these categories are, again, the number, the case, or the tenses. One of them is called as a mark, and the term itself, it contains a what? An affix. An affix can be prefix or the suffix. When you say the word prefix, it is an additional word before the root word. But when you say to the suffix, it is additional word after the root word. Example, beautiful. The prefix is this beautiful. Okay. Another example is love. The prefix of it is beloved. So we additional the two letters be, which is the prefix. And now additional discussion.
The term markedness refers to the relationship between the two poles of an opposition. The terms marked and unmarked refer to the evaluation of the poles. The simpler, more general pole is the unmarked term of the opposition, while the more complex and focused pole is the marked term.
Yes. And now let us differentiate what is unmarked and marked.
Unmarked is the greater frequency of use within language, less complex phonologically or morphologically. It is not overtly marked, and unmarked is the occurs in many languages and early child acquisition.
While marked, it has a lesser frequency of use and it is more complex. Will be overly marked, then late acquisition, and lastly occurs in a fewer languages. And now, let's proceed now to this deconstruction. And deconstruction theory, it is originated by Jacques Derrida. Right, partner?
Yeah. Origins of deconstruction. Derrida's main influence for the development of this theory was from the theorist Martin Heidegger.
And in his work called Being and Time, Heidegger talks about this structuring of previous ontological concepts such as time, history, matter, etc., in order to better understand them.
Derrida's theory is similar to Heidegger's in that he too wanted to rethink many of the terms commonly used in philosophical considerations, but Derrida took further steps in creating a workable theory.
And now, what is deconstruction? Deconstruction is defined as can be especially difficult and confusing. Derrida once said that it is necessary.
Confusion, since it is criticizing the very language needed to explain it. Here is a very simplified explanation of the reasoning behind this theory that I found helpful. Deconstruction seems to center around the idea that language and meaning are often inadequate in trying to convey the message or idea a communicator is trying to express. Since the confusion stems from the language and not the object, then one should break down or deconstruct the language to see if we can better understand where the confusion stems.
Okay, and now let's proceed now to the semiotic square. Semiotic square, it is a structuralist semiotician Algirdas Drimas introduced the semiotic square, which is he adopted from the logical square of scholastic philosophy as means of analyzing paired concepts more fully. The semiotic square is intended to map the logical conjunctions and these conjunctions relating key semantic features in a text. While Frederick James notes what?
Notes that the entire mechanism is capable of generating at least 10 conceivable positions out of a rudimentary binary opposition. While this suggests that the possibilities for signification in a semiotic system are richer than either or binary logic, but that they are nevertheless subject to semiotic constraints, deep structures providing basic access of signification.
Wow, that is semiotic square. So this is the example of the semiotic square. As we can see to the graph, we have the contradiction, we have the contrariety, and the contrariety. So assertion is from the left, this area, and we have the negation from this area, and non-negations, this area, and non-ascension. While this graph, we can see the complementarity in this, and to the mirror, it is the same, the complementarity. So, the critics of structuralist analysis note that binary oppositions need not only to be related to one another and interpreted, but also to be contextualized in terms of the social systems which give rise to text. Those who use this structuralist approach sometimes claim to be analyzing the latent meaning in a text. What is it really about?
Unfortunately, such approaches typically understate the subjectivity of the interpreter's framework, illuminating as they may sometimes be any inexplicit oppositions which are identified are in the mind of the interpreter rather than contained within the text itself. Yet, another objection is that the question of whether categories like scared, profane, and happiness, misery are psychologically real in any meaningful sense is not posed, and internal logic of constructuralism would suggest it need not be posed.
And now the another graph. So guys, let us analyze this one. Please analyze and observe the graph carefully. We have the word there, enthusiast. Then, as we can see again, there is the contrariness, which is the expert. But at the center, we can see the contrariety, which is the connoisseur. And to their lifestyle, the enthusiast, the drinker, it is a lifestyle of a person. The expert and the novice, it is a traditional matter. While the novice and the drinker, it is an event goer. So as we can see, as a person, when we are going to tell about like for example, April J is a drinker person. So who is she? She is a event goer. And another example, April Joy is a novice person. So as we can see, that the two words, the contrariety of that, it is a event goer. So as we can see, the drinker there is the non-assertion, and the novice there, it is the non-negation. And now I hope you understand well what is semiotic square. And now let me proceed now to the following topic, which is the part 2 of our report, syntagmatic dimension. Are you ready for this, partner?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, go. Okay, what is syntagmatic dimension, or is called as analysis?
Sigmatic analysis of a text, or a nonverbal, involves studying its structures and the relationships between its parts. The study of syntagmatic relations reveals the study of conventions or rules of combination underlying the production and interpretation of the text, such as grammar of language.
So, again, syntagmatics. It is the combinations of rules of combination rather, that underlies with the production and the interpretation of such a text. This can be either a grammar of a language. So, as a person, as an English major, we rather as an English major, or we speak all the time, we need we need to be guided with the syntagmatic analysis, because we have to analyze first what the word, the sentences, the phrases conveys. And now, for the following slides, we will more understand adequately what is the difference between syntagmatic and paradigmatic, and it as well as their uses. So, special things of a visual media. It can be a what? Drawing, paintings, and photography. But also in writing, it can be poems, newspapers, and magazines. So, as we can see in the syntagmatic, the same thing which are written, and in visually, we have to know its meaning, what the message to be conveys. Why?
Unlike sequential syntagmatic relations, which are essentially about before and after, spatial syntagmatic relations include first above and below,
In front and behind.
close and distant,
At the same time, right and left.
which can also have sequential significance.
Right. It can be north, south, east, west, and
Inside and out, or center or periphery.
yes, so that is spatial. And what is sequential?
The most obvious example of sequential relations is narrative. Some critics claim that differences between narratives and non-narratives relate to differences among media, instancing individual drawings, paintings, and photographs as non-narrative forms. Other claims that narrative is a deep structure, independent of the medium. Narrative theory or narratology is a major interdisciplinary field in its own right and is not necessarily framed within a semiotics perspective, although the analysis of narrative is an important branch of semiotics. Semiotic narratology is concerned with narrative in any mode, literary or non-literary, fictional or non-fictional, verbal or visual, but tends to focus on minimal narrative units that the grammar of the plot. Some theorists refer to story grammars. So, ang grammar of the plot kay refer siya sa other theorists to story grammars. It follows in the tradition of the Russian formalist Vladimir Propp and the French anthropologist Claude Lévi-Strauss.
Wow, that is sequential. And now here's the example of sequential. In every narrative, stories written, every story needs a what?
Beginning, middle, and ending.
Yes, these are the basic parts of every written work. What is beginning? It is the backstory if needed, and under the beginning, it has the story title, establishes time and location, introduces characters, create mood or ambience, then sometimes an audience challenge.
In the middle, you have an exciting moment, rising tension, action, conflict, and gets from beginning to end in a logical sequence.
Ending, story conclusion or closure, delivers story meaning, story credits. Yes, these are the basic part of every written work. It can be narrative and story. And now another example of the narratives. They believe that these are the famous writers, the novelists. Christian Metz believe that a writing or a narrative, it has a beginning and ending, while Philip Larkin believes that it has
beginning, middle, and ending.
same as Jean-Luc Godard. So narrative helps to make the strange familiar. They provide structure, predictability, and coherence.
In this respect, they are similar to schemas for familiar events in everyday life. Turning experience into narrative seems to be fundamental features of the human drive to make meaning.
We are storytellers with a readiness or predisposition to organize experience,
into a narrative form,
which is encouraged in our socialization as we learn to adapt our culture's way of telling. So this is how narratives become substantial to us as a person. And thank you once again. I am Dexter A. Cabug.
I am April J. G. Kakafranca.
Thank you.